Diego, knowing that you're only playing realistically for seeding at this point, what's the mentality been going into the game coming up in the weekend?
For us, it's important to face this game like one more game of playoff. We know that we are playing against a great opponent away at home, and we want to have that mentality to face it as if it was a playoff game, to manage it that way, and still fight to get the 3 points, but maybe in a little bit with that focus also put on what is coming.
So how do you balance that then in terms of obviously a desire to get a win this weekend, but also not take too many risks maybe ahead of the following week?
No, I think obviously we are gonna go for the win, and we are gonna face the game as a playoff game. But obviously, there is any player that is having a little bit of doubt where you will maybe push in another situation. We are not gonna take that risk.
What have you made, I guess, of the away form, especially the week a couple weeks ago, the 2 wins in 2 games, but I think it's 3 in your last 5 have gone your way away from home. What have you made of your team's performances away from home?
I think that lately we have been performing good away. The team feels confident, obviously, after the last two victories on the road. They feel like they can get results against the opponents that we have in front of us. So I think the mentality is positive, and it's good also. I think it's a positive thing that we finish with an away game in this scenario right now.
How much will you and I guess the staff as a whole lean on the guys that were here last year, not only for this week in Louisville, but headed into the playoffs? Darnell, Renzo, the people who were on the team for the run last year.
No, I think we will lean on them, that on that mentality. We talk to them that they transfer that mentality, like we have done it one more time, we want to do it again, and we can do it. So that's what they are going to bring to the table, the fact that they have done it once, and they have done it on the road every single game. So I think they have those players, they have the mentality like, no problem that we are on the road. It's going to be good for us. We have done it before on the road. It's going to be more pressure for the other team, and I think that's a little bit the mentality that those guys bring to the table.
How have you guys been kind of preparing this week for traveling all the way across the country and playing 3 hours time difference?
No, we are used to in some way to the travel and the time difference. So in that sense, has been as any other week where we have to travel. It's a good travel in the way that we can train on Thursday here before we depart, or we train Friday over there, so it doesn't change that much. Hartford was the only one that complicated everything because it was a very, very long trip. But this is as other travels that we have, even when they are shorter, where we can get training before here on Thursday, train over there on Friday, so it doesn't change too much our preparation for the game in that sense.
Do you think having a road game like this right before the playoffs is good for your team? Kind of bonding on the plane, kind of in the hotel, just kind of get the group, collectively ready for the playoffs? Yeah,
I think it's the best opponent that you can play on a away game, the most difficult, the ones that they win the league, and also in an East game. So I think preparation-wise to get that mentality for the playoff and to play a tough game before playoff, I think is a very good thing. You prefer to play a tough game, the last game on the league, before we started the playoff.
Diego, how's been the mentality of the club so far heading into Saturday? Are you guys over last week's loss at home?
Yes. The team got over quick that loss away. I think the loss that we took time to get over was the biggest one, and then we learned from that. And I think that last week, well, it was a loss, but at the same time, the team was happy because of the playoff qualification. So I think from all the loss that we have took, that was the one that it was more easy to get over. No, we went to the game knowing that we just clinched playoff because of the San Antonio result, and we were angry and not happy because we lost, and we lost at home, and we wanted to win in front of the fans and give them that satisfaction. But at the same time, the day after, we know that the mentality needed to be focusing on the last part, the playoff, when we are going to fight for the championship. So I will say that victory didn't affect too much on the group moral at all. Defeat, sorry.
When you look at the table, obviously the top 5 teams in the West, most of them are not on particularly good form. Is that something that gives you guys confidence looking ahead to the playoffs?
Yes, I think it's very, very tight. We have every team of the 8 that are over there, especially in the West. We don't feel that the different level has been too different from each other, and especially on the current form, where you can see the players on top are not in their best form, and the teams coming from below and in a better form. Also, right now, New Mexico is the first in the standings. We know that we went to New Mexico and we win, so the team felt confident. Okay, we have done it very recently. There is no reason for us to fear a matchup against any of the 5 teams. We can play any of them because it's away, because we felt like we had done it recently and we can do it again.
Yeah, speaking of New Mexico in particular, they wrapped up the number 1 seed with a few games left to play. Is that something that can maybe work as a disadvantage for a team like that? They don't really have a whole lot to play for at all in their last few regular season games.
I don't know. That will be a good question for them. I think there has been both examples. Has been teams that has played their advantage because they were able to rest a little bit players before that and have kind of like a mental break for a little bit and then pick up again. And has been also cases where the team that gets the win too early gets disqualified in first round or get a bad result because of that mental disconnection. So it's always a tricky situation. At least.
How do you like, going back and watching the game, if you did, how did you sort of like what the offense is doing, especially in the first half?
No, I think I watch the game. Sometimes when you rewatch the game, the feelings are not the same. This one is one that the feelings were the same and done on the field. I think we did a very good first half where we created good chances, even though some of chances also that were called offside, that later rewatching is not offside, that were very good chances to score a goal in the first half. We get the control, and then we didn't concede many to Memphis in the first half. I think the second half is where, and we have been talking, is where we want to improve. Second half, we lost all the good things that we were doing in the first half. The game got more under control and out of control, more transitional, too many fouls. The second half, the actual playing time was very, very, very little, and that also something that we talk about it and that we want to manage better for next time.
How do you manage that better? Is it finding the right characters to have on the field at that time in the game? Is it better from your staff? Is it maybe all-encompassing?
We have do a little bit of video, we have training on that. I'm prepared for that also, now that we are going to face some different situations, and that's how we want to plan. We talk about it, we plan, and we train a little bit about it this week, so that's how we want to improve in those situations.
I know the goal was called offsides, and how in those moments and maybe throughout the season when your team has faced adversity, how do you think that they've responded to those situations?
We know that this is something that we want to improve, because we had moments in New Mexico we were excellent, and in other games we have not been excellent. When we have some of those situations in adversity, we have kind of drift out a little bit for the games. I think now this is a team that has shown that in the tough moments, when we felt like we were with the water to the neck, that we say in Spanish, we respond. And other times maybe we were not with the water to the neck that much, and those are the games that we have drift out. Now we know it's all or nothing. We hope to have that mentality that we have had in the very tough moments. Obviously, you cannot control. You got a goal. Okay, it's not offside. It's called offside. We need to keep playing. It's nothing that you can do at that moment.
Obviously, this came up with DJ a bit earlier about how, you know, the kind of competitions that he's played in the past, he's more used to dealing with promotion and relegation at this time of the season rather than a playoff system like this, and you'd have presumably grown up in that kind of a situation as well. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about a competition where, you know, you can finish in the bottom half of the table and still be in the mix then for the title at the end of the season?
I am used to now because been 7 years here in the US. Obviously, it's not what I grew up with. What is the normal for me. I still feel it interesting, at least. It's another way of competing, no? Where obviously if you finish first, you will say like they are not rewarding you enough for the season that you have, and if you finish, if you don't finish first, then you are happy that you have playoffs because you can still win it. So this American system has been working in this country for 4 years, and obviously it's different. It's different.
How do you treat it from the perspective of the players? Obviously, when you grew up and where you were trained, you need to be fit and peaking almost the whole season. But now is it more tailored to, hey, you need to be fit and at your full level in October, November?
Yes, I think you still try to win every game, so you still need to have the peak form every single weekend, because if not, because first you fight to get it as high as possible on the table, to try to get the better spot, better matchup in the playoff, and then you fight also to get to the playoffs. So you are not competing well during the year. Maybe if you just want to pick in October and November, maybe it's too late. But yes, now we know that it's very important how you arrive to this moment of the season. It's kind of like more like, I would say, like a cup competition or like a Champions League, where like if you are very good in the group phase, but then when it's February the team is in a worse shape, then you don't perform in Champions League. So it's has more like that vibe than a normal regular league, than Premier League, that if you lose points at the beginning, you are already done. But Champions League, we have seen teams also like in the group phase, they are kind of so they get there with less points, and then they end up winning it. So it's kind of that vibe, I will say.
Diego, going into Saturday and potentially even playoffs, are you looking to play with like the same game plan when you play with Memphis, or maybe perhaps experimenting on Saturday before heading to playoffs?
It's not time to experimenting a lot. I think and do many changes suddenly for playoff. We don't think that will bring us success, but obviously there are things that within the game plan that we may adjust, that we may change depending on the opponent, depending on the situations, and adjusting to playoff game that we know is a little bit different.
If everything goes to plan here, you make it through a couple of rounds, you're going to be in a position in a few weeks' time where you've got guys who've got the must-win game here of a knockout playoff game, but they've also got must-win games for their country in terms of qualifying for the Gold Cup. How are you planning on navigating that if it comes around, and is that something you're already thinking about?
I mean, if we get that situation, it's playoff, is the last games, it's important for the club. This is for what we fight all season long, and we hope to have every player available to be with us.
Is that something, last year the league managed to avoid having playoff games during the international break? Is that something you think the league needs to think about going forward?
It's a tough question. I know like MLS just managed it. They were dealing with the same problem sometimes in the past. Will be a question for the league. I know like the season finished by the end of November. I don't know what adjustments can be made. I don't know what situations can be talked with the federations. obviously it's not always the best to, if that conflict happen and you lost your players, yeah, it will be a tough moment that you say like you are competing, you're playing a final, a Western Conference final, and you are missing players on international break. That's a tough situation, obviously. I don't know how to manage better. I don't know what the league can do or cannot do, but obviously we know as a club standpoint that will be a tough situation.
Diego, I don't like bringing up the past too much, especially last year, but last year having the similar situation that you are right now, do you plan on perhaps maybe looking back at like film from last year, perhaps trying to see what's similar that you could try to replicate this for this postseason run?
And we watch those games. It's more, I think, it's the mentality more than what happened in the games you're gonna play with. You have a different team, you have different opponents. It's a completely different group. I don't think that's something that is going to replicate much, but I think within the group, which is important, is that mentality from players that were there last year and what will bring success and what bring success on those key moments on the field and how they face the last bit, because the players that are there and Darnell, obviously, that now is with the staff, has mentioned like it was a very similar season in many situations where there was up and down, where there was moments, good moments, bad moments, and the team needed to play away during the whole playoffs, so that reminded a little bit to that. So I think that's the mentality piece that we really need to look at more than the tactical part of the playoff.